she said, indigo. I was like, girl, yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was from my big sister. So when I tell her that I shouted it out, she gonna be really happy. But thank you, Miss Beverly, for always being there and with for my family.
You're very welcome. You tell her I said hey, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So while I did send the link to JD Mason to her, I sent it twice just to make sure until she gets in. I like to call her Aunt Bev. Tell us about this new movie deal with, oh my God, that is so amazing.
I know what we got, is, people option stuff all the time. So I'm excited, but I'm trying not to get, shoot off fireworks or anything yet. Because this is the second deal. We have a deal with Sony to do Forbidden. And that's a lot farther along than the Roker project. But yeah, Al Roker, I didn't even know he had an entertainment company.
Who knew?
Clueless here, right? So, but I guess he's done documentaries, he's done stuff for Lifetime, he's done stuff for Hallmark. So Lane Schefter Bishop, who directed Brenda's My Brother's Promise for net, what's the people called? Anyway, them people. I can't remember the name of the group. It'll come to me in a minute. But she was the director for Brenda's movie, and she has been trying to get somebody to get on board with the Blessing series for a couple years now. So when I found out, because I didn't know anything about it, when she, I didn't see anything until they sent the press release out. And I was like, oh shit, okay, I'm good, so so we're in the process of doing contracts and, nothing is in stone yet. We haven't signed anything. Lawyers are still doing, their legal eagle thing. And we'll see what happens going forward. But, the Blessing series has been blessed by this. And I'm really excited about the Sony deal. Got that through the young ladies that own the Rip Bodice. They have a first look deal with Sony. And that's a little bit farther ahead. We have a Black showrunner. She's done Black shows, she's done white shows. She's, a veteran at all of this, which is wonderful. And she told me that she just wants to make me proud of her. So I know that we're in good hands, at least with her. And we're probably in good hands too with Roker. So that's where that stands. So I'm in the middle of supposedly writing Bresson's 11, which is due to my editor in January, and zooming all over the place with everybody and their mama. I'm starting to get dizzy. I've been telling folks I'm getting dizzy doing this. I have 2 tomorrow with the James River Writing Conference in Virginia at 9:00 in the morning. Ooh. I'm like, really? No. So I'll be the one with the coffee and half awake at 9 a.m. And then I have another one with them at 2:45. So I'm having a good time. It's good to see you. Thanks for the invite to this.
Yes, indeed. And we got JD Mason is in the house. She's here now.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, girl.
I am the ultimate. I'm such a fangirl. And I don't know if you remember this, but years ago we were at, I think we were in Atlanta or some event. And this was one of the first times I got a chance to be in your company, right? And I had hosted a panel or something we were on, and you and I were sitting at a table at some point by ourselves.
Okay.
And I was like, this is my opportunity. I get to talk to Beverly Jenkins. She's sitting right here. Say something to Beverly Jenkins, right? Just whatever you're gonna say. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna say. Just say something. And I was just like, this is it. This is it. This is that moment where you can say something to Beverly. Just you two. And I sat there, and my mind was like, don't say nothing. You're gonna sound so stupid. Don't say nothing. So I sat there the whole time, like, you enjoying the conference? And by the time I worked up the courage to have a conversation, people came to the table, and I was like, damn, I missed it.
I'm just me. I'm just a.
Yeah, but no, you're not just goodness. I mean, I've been like,
A color girl from the east side of Detroit.
I was reading about you before I got one word published, and I'm like, that right there is an icon. So thank you
appreciate that.
for everything you do. I am, yeah.
I gotta share this because if there's anything I will remember Aunt Bev, I call Aunt Bev for, is at Romantic Times convention. They introduced her and she came up, and this is ballroom full of white folks, right?
I think I was there.
I know you were there. Ballroom full of white folks. And then when she got up for her acceptance speech, she said something about, they said that white people or whatever wouldn't read a romance written by Black people. And I said, bullshit.
Yep. I love it.
That's my woman right there. That is going to always be my classic memory.
That sums her up. That sums her up in a nutshell. I mean, she's like a little chihuahua. She's feisty. She's mean. She needs ankles. She don't play. And I just love that about her because, you know, in a world where we are not we don't have that recognition, or we don't have that whatever. Beverly Jenkins and Brenda Jacksons and all those people, you know, in that world of romance where we're not represented as much as we should be,
right,
and appreciated as much as we should be,
right.
You shine like beacons to us.
Yeah,
you really do. And you know, just being able, like I said, being in your presence, it scared the shit out of me. I mean, it scared me, and not really scared me, but it just kind of like I was in awe, and I still am. And so. I'm excited about Hopetown. I think that is just amazing. I didn't know Al Roker made movies either. But how do you feel? You've been doing it for a long time. You're still in love with it. You're still excited by it. You still love it. You still got a lot left to do. I mean, how do you feel? Do you get tired? Because you do a lot of traveling. You do a lot of touring. And
well, you know, what keeps me going are the readers. Because without them, I'm nothing. You know, they put my kids through college. They buy my coffee. They bought my new car 3 years ago. I mean, and the idea of writing stories that resonate and represent folks that look like us. Because for so long, there was nothing. I mean, I grew up in the 50s. And the 50s and the early 60s, and other than the classics, there was no mass market fiction for us.
Right.
So I've been in this game for 26 years, and I have watched the market explode with our excellence.
Ooh,
whether we're writing Christian, whether we're writing, you know, I'm a big fantasy fan. These sisters out here with this paranormal stuff, and I keep telling them on Twitter, y'all gonna put me in the poorhouse.
Yep.
The books are so good, and there are so many of them, especially writing the YA. I mean, sisters writing mysteries, sisters, you know, just the whole gamut of literature. And it's not all about pain.
Right.
Because, you know, that's basically what Hollywood and the publishers at first were concentrating on. You know, all they wanted to see was, you know, pain. And we're more than that. You know, we are dragons. We are, you know, we're sports. We're, you know, love. We're, you know, all of the different branches of literature. And to see that explode is an awesome thing. So, you know, Brenda and I were talking, I don't know, recently or whenever it was, about, you know, we're no longer concerned about what's going to happen to Black romance when, you know, when we go to the great writers convention in the sky, because of so many women coming up, and guys who are coming up, who are writing, and people of all identity. You know, we got queer folks, we got LGBTQ, we got everybody of all identities who are writing everything. And it's just amazing to me. And that keeps me going because, you know, I get to promote y'all. You know, I get to say, okay, JD's got a new book out, or Kimberly's got a new book out, or Brenda's got a new book out. And that's part of my job too, is to make the path wider. You know, it's not for me to take the accolades and the awards and and say, okay, well, I got mine, y'all get yours. It's word of mouth. It's trying to support. So I'm having a good ass time, in other words.
I'm talking about. You know, Sandra Thompson, one of the attendees, said, I grew up reading Harlequins, never read a Black romance until I came across one of your books.
Yeah. There was nothing out there for us. And, and I wasn't even trying to get published. I sort of stumbled into this. I was just writing for me. And I had a girlfriend at work who said, a white girl said, you need to get this published. And I'm like, where? This was like 85. So the idea that I can write stories that people are still buying after 26 years, that keeps me going too, because I'm just amazed. I am still amazed that people buy my books and that they love my stories and they're passing. And I'm a third generation of readers now.
Wow.
So, we got old hens like me, and we got their daughters, and we got their daughters. So, and then the two YAs, I'm catching, the grandbabies too with the two YAs. So I'm having a good time, and it's a gift, and I try and treat it that way.
Yeah.
Some of your fans, Lakeisha Turner, Kenya James, Tony Bonita, Shannon Harper said what the word you were looking for was passion flicks.
Oh, yes. Passion flicks. That's
Passion
right.
flicks.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Thank you, ladies.
Michelle Weaver said that congratulations and loved your article in Writer's Digest this month.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm on the cover.
Yeah.
I think they've ever done before. I don't know. They've been trying to get me to come and do their keynote, but with COVID, well, the first 2 years I had other stuff to do. And then this year was past summer when they wanted to have it. COVID's got everybody locked down. So, but it's, I need a helmet for all these blessings falling out the sky. It's like, and every time I look around, it's something different. And I'm so grateful and so blessed. And, I'm sure God is tired of me saying all day, every day, thank you, 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 thank you. But, you're supposed to show gratitude and you're supposed to be grateful because the stories come through me. They are not of me. So
Yep.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
The Robin Lewis says the Blessing series is the bomb. I love it and waiting anxiously for more. Stephanie M. Freeman, she's a tribe member. She says, thank you, Miss Beverly, for paving the way. Your books were like seeds buried in the good soil of my imagination.
And they were, and me, and I was on a panel on Sunday with Donna Hill and Rochelle and Wayne. And I think about it as we put seeds in the ground, and out of those seeds grew, JD and, and all of the other, Black writers that that came up behind us. And it's a good thing. So, I'm glad that, my books are still resonating and, y'all still buying because, as long as y'all keep buying, I keep writing. So
that's a good thing. That is definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
We told you we weren't going to keep you long.
okay.
So, and I know you've got other things to do. And since you got to get up at what, 9 o'clock
in the morning. I don't go to, I didn't go to bed this morning till 4. I'm like, y'all really want.
I'm mad because you told me to make sure you came at a respectable hour.
I know. Well, they sending me a few ducats, not, just a few. So.
I feel you. I hear you chirping, Big Bird. I hear you chirping.
I figured it, I'd at least show up. So I may not be awake, but I'll show up. So
Yeah, that's it.
Indeed. Yeah. Any last parting words for your fans that are here? Because they are plentiful.
Well, just, they know how much I love them and they put up with me and they make me eat. It's probably, Facebook posts right now asking me, did I eat dinner? No, not yet. I'm going to eat after I get done with this, promise. But I'm just grateful for them and grateful for you, for your support of African-American writers. And
indeed,
grateful for JD for being a good sister of the pen and, all that.
You got a shirt with your face on it? Because I could get a shirt.
No, because if we're going to get a shirt, we're going to get her favorite word down there.
Yeah,
no, favorite 2 words. That's going to be the words we put up there.
Their word shirt on, so. Yeah.
That was hilarious. I will never forget that. She gave no F's. She's like,
Yep.
this is
You know,
me.
I'm at a certain age where I got no fucks to give, right? You know, so
And
it's
she was
like,
dressed cute too. She was dressed real cute. She's all dressed, all up, all good, and everything, just cussing.
yeah, I'm like,
Yes.
I gotta stop that. But you know,
No,
they
don't
know
stop.
who they got when they put me on stage. You know, they know the job is. They knew the job was dangerous when they took it. Yeah.
That is so awesome. I'm going to show the screen of, I think, one of the latest one of your books, so everybody can see that there are people coming in all the time.
Okay. On the corner of Hope and Maine, book 10 in the Blessing series. New historical coming out in February. It's called Wild Rain.
Okay.
It's a sister rancher in Wyoming in 1880 something. So hopefully readers will enjoy that as well.
Oh, you know,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a
we
big
love that.
contrast between, your Christian fiction and the heat that comes along in your, historical fiction.
Well, yeah.
I didn't realize folks can get that hot back there. I'm like,
You know
yeah,
what
we had to come from somewhere.
And we get that all the time, and I'm like, how you think we got here?
But you know what my favorite word was in all your books? Every time I see buried,
Oh.
Berry.
Yes.
Middles.
We
I
talk
was
about
like, yes.
berries.
It's like the
Talk about berries on here.
Too funny.
You know,
funny.
and that's one of the great things I think about romance is that, we get to claim that agency over our sexuality in ways that have not been explored before for Black women. And I think that's one of the joys, one of the reasons I write romance too. So yeah.
And you've tackled a couple of subjects. I think it was two things that stand out for me because, sex has been done a kabillion ways, but there was one book where you handled where the woman had to teach the man.
Oh yes, that was Chance of Love.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't know anything, and she was like, "Really? This is what we're doing?" So she's laying there on the bed and she's looking at him and like, "No." She says, "Okay, we got to teach you. You need to. What did she say? Twist a few dials and push a few buttons and." But he got himself together though. He was a good student. So
I got it all the way together.
Yeah, he got it together. But she was like, and still when I read that scene, just imagining the look on her face from what I'm writing, I break out laughing every time, but she's just outdone. She's like, what are we doing here? Yeah.
There's the other book that you tackle something that I thought was the first time I've ever cried in a Beverly Jenkins book. It was the one where our hero had been molested.
Yeah, that
brought me to tears.
Yeah, that was Destiny's
Embrace.
Captive. Destiny's Captives. Yeah, the third book. Yeah, the younger, he'd been Shanghai on his 18th birthday. And he didn't want to cooperate, so they left him on this island of prisoners. And there he was, a young boy, loved by his family and in a situation that was just awful for him. And then when he finally came home, he's broken and he don't want to talk about it. And his brothers are like, well, what went on? And he said, well, my heart is broken. If I tell you, your heart's going to be broken too. So I'm just going to keep it to myself. But it eventually has to come out, as all trauma does. And got involved with a sister Cuban, an African Cuban pirate who steals his ship because she got guns to run. And this is during the first Cuban Revolution. So they were a good pair. So yeah.
It was very, very well handled for back then because, like today, people have therapy, they have people they can talk to, you know what I'm saying? But back then, there was none of that. But how you skillfully handled that in the book, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, he's, like I said, I don't know where these stories come from. They come through me, they're not of me. And you know, they just sort of tap me on the shoulder and say, you know, write my story, and then here we go. The lady rancher in the new book is not a different kind of heroine, but you know, you don't get a lot of women in romance who don't want kids. And she's like, nope, that's not why I'm here. I got my horses, I got my land. I don't need a man, and I definitely don't need children. You know, so we'll see how the readers react to. And she's tough. I mean, she is a mess. I loved writing her. So, and she got pants on the cover. Not the pants I wanted, but she looked like she got on chinos, and I'm like, really? Chinos and Uggs, and I'm like, no, that's not what I wanted. But you know, hey, we'll take what we can get at this point. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good job. Good job. JD, your parting words, because you know, with everything in, you got your wish, which is what, to have more of Beverly talking while we got you in here. So she wanted you to stay longer, so she made this happen. So this whole hurricane and all this, whatever. Anyway,
I was happy we didn't get hit, but praying for the folks in Lake Charles. And
Oh man, I did a sign in there a couple years ago, and you know, such great people, and
yeah,
this tragedy to hit them twice.
twice in 6 weeks.
I know.
I'm
That's
still a
awful.
hurricane. I'm still a hurricane virgin.
Yeah. Now, where are you now?
I'm in New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I'm in New Orleans. But thank you so much. I am honored to be. Every time I get to talk to you, it's amazing and it's wonderful. So you just keep shining that light, keep leading the way, and we'll keep coming.
All right, that's good, because there's always more light, always enough light for everybody. And if somebody tell you there ain't enough light, you know, just ignore them, because there's plenty of light, and you're supposed to share it. You're supposed to share it.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gents, if there are any gents out there, thank you so
Yeah,
much. Now I'm gonna go eat so the ladies don't get me a whooping.
All
And
right.
I'll see you all soon. Thanks again for the invite.
Bye-bye.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Love you more.
Bye-bye.
Indeed.
All right.
Okay, so the next up is actually Michelle Rayford. But before we bring her on, JD, where are you? There you go, because everybody keeps flipping screens, so I got to keep up with everyone. JD, if you want to let everybody know where to, your latest book, as well as about your anniversary, you've got about 3 minutes here before we bring Michelle in to bring Brian in. You know, we're gonna keep it moving, but you've got a little time.
My name's JD Mason. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I've just released my 20th anniversary edition of my very first book, and on the 8th day she rested. Before that, I released the 20-year reunion of those same characters, called Without a Song to Sing. I am currently working on a book called Broken Glass, and hopefully that will be out. I don't know when it's going to be out. I'm working on that for a publisher. And then also we'll be releasing a book called The Ghost of Me, hopefully next year. And finally finishing up my Dragon series, Forged in Fire, and the Fire Breathing series by the end of next year. So that's everything JD Mason in a nutshell.
Awesome. And what year is this book? It's the 20th anniversary?
Yes.
Of Without a Song to Sing is the sequel to On the 8th Day She Rested. So it's the 20th anniversary of On the 8th Day She Rested. And then you came out with the sequel, what, earlier this year or last year?
This year, earlier this year. They both came out this year.
Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. Everyone, if you're looking into the chat, I've dropped the links in there for people to enter for the free book giveaways and the Amazon gift cards. I just dropped the one for Michelle Rayford. I have the one from Pat is in there, as well as mine is in there. I'll be dropping them as we go along. You want to enter all the spaces, because the more you enter, the more chances you have to win. And if you say that you followed that author on Instagram and that's the winner, then that's where they're going to advertise to you that you won, is on Instagram. So just to let you know, don't be just kind of trying to slide in there, click everything, and you'll be good. So I am going to bring on, we're a minute early, but once again, JD Mason is on Instagram. She is on Facebook and Twitter. She's also in our literary cafe. If you haven't joined the literary cafe, make sure you do that. that's an awesome place where you can hang out with us all the time. So the Literary Cafe. So now it is 6:30, and now I'm going to turn it over to Michelle D. Rayford. She's one of our suspense writers, which is how she ended up with Brian Smith as being able to host him. So we're going to bring Brian on. He's been laying back there in the cut. He's got that new release out there. So Michelle, I'm turning it over to you.
All righty. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle D. Rayford. I'm the author of Moment of Truth and Not That Nice. It's my short story. And I'm happy to introduce Brian W. Smith. Brian is an award-winning best-selling author of more than 30 novels and short stories. Several of his novels have been Amazon bestsellers. He is an adjunct professor of creative writing at colleges in Dallas, Texas, in the Dallas, Texas area. He is a native of New Orleans, but resides in Dallas, Texas. And I just wanted to say, I just finished his latest book, Paper Bag, and it is a real conversation starter. And I believe he's going to read an excerpt. So everyone really needs to get this book. It will make you think. It will have you talking.
I thought he said he wanted to do a chat. Are you gonna read us? You
Okay.
gonna read for us, Brian? Or you gonna chat with us?
I'll do whatever y'all want me to do, baby.
No, it's your world. It's your world. We just
Whatever
let us know what you'd like to do.
You know what? I'll give you a sample. How about that? So this is the opening chapter, and it's only a couple of pages, so hopefully I can blow through it right quick. Of Paper Bag, which is my latest release, just dropped last week, debuted on the Amazon bestseller list. My 33rd novel. This book is about the brown paper bag test, which is the forefather to what we now call colorism. Started in my hometown of New Orleans, and this book is about a young man who was dating, when he was 17, was dating a 15-year-old girl. Her mom came home, saw him there, and just for reference, the brother looks like me, right? He's dark-skinned. Came home, the girl's mother saw him there, and he had to go home. The very next day at school, he approached the young lady. She said, "I can't talk to you." He said, "Why?" He asked why, and she said, "Because you're darker than a brown paper bag." Fast forward 10 years later, and he is now, 15 years later, he is now 32 and she is 30. And he is now a prominent defense attorney in New Orleans, arguably the most prominent defense attorney in New Orleans. And the young lady, she is now 30 years old, and she's being groomed to be a GM at a Mercedes-Benz dealership. He brings in his fancy Mercedes to get serviced, and he runs into his old flame. The two of them go on a date. When her mom finds out that she went on a date with him, mom blows up. She confides in him that my mom still has an issue with your skin color. And as it turns out, 1 week later, her twin brother gets arrested for murder. And now mom is asking this young lady to ask this prominent defense attorney to represent the brother. So the same mother who felt he was too dark-skinned to date her daughter now wants him to represent her child. And that is the book. That's a jump off of the book called Paper Bag. This opening chapter, as with any plague, there's always an origin. And this opening chapter gives you an insight into where the seed was planted. Tammy Tonti sat with crossed legs and a diary with bedazzled hearts on the front cover resting in her lap. The eraser of the pencil she held tapped against the bottom lip covered in strawberry-flavored balm. Oblivious to the damage being done to the eraser, the self-absorbed child struggled to prioritize a week's worth of preteen madness. Her eyes widened when she saw 6:06 p.m. on the digital clock perched on her nightstand. A 12-year-old isn't supposed to fret about schedules, but Tammy was an old soul. As far as she was concerned, arriving 5 minutes early was the same as being late. Normally, by the 6th minute of the hour, she would be sharpening her pencil for a second time, the point dull from the young scribe's attempt to chronicle thoughts about cute boys, her friends, and diatribes against the girls whom she considered persona non grata. Her stomach rumbled so loud that she looked down at her belly. I wish they'd hurry up and finish talking, she thought. I'm hungry. Tammy rubbed her stomach with one hand while she gripped a pencil tighter with the other. She could feel her want to write in her journal morphing into a need. A distraction was the only thing standing between her and defying her mother's order to remain in her bedroom. Her taupe-colored eyes surveyed the bedroom from right to left. The examination didn't stop until she spotted the beauty pageant trophies that adorned her bookshelf in the far corner. The first place trophies, with their gold-painted tiara-wearing figurines, were positioned in the front. They were her pride and joy, symbols of the princess her mother often told her she was. The sight of them transported Tammy to the last pageant she competed in, where more than 100 onlookers cheered as she was crowned the winner. The second and third place trophies, the ones she reluctantly accepted, were pushed to the back of the bookshelf. The ornaments atop them struggled to be seen like twigs surrounded by redwoods. She wanted to toss them in the nearest trash can, but their presence made her collection more impressive. Like the seat fillers hired to attend award shows, their ability to fill up space on the bookshelf was more important than whence they came. The memory of being showered in praise prompted Tammy to think about the previous Monday where her itch to be the center of attention was scratched when she read her Black History paper on Dr. Charles Drew. The teacher gushed while she spoke. Her classmates stared in awe. For those 5 minutes, she felt like a queen speaking to her loyal subjects. Suddenly, the creativity that eluded Tammy paused long enough for her to snare it. A Duquesne smile appeared, followed by a feeling comparable to the elation one gets when the elusive goldfish in the tank takes a wrong turn and swims into the net you've been dangling in the water to catch it. Tammy opened the diary and flipped to the clean page that would serve as the canvas for the juicy gossip about to spill from her pencil. Her bony fingers clamped down on the wooden weapon and pressed its lead tip against the paper. I'll start with the Black History paper that everyone loved, she thought. The loquacious girl started scrawling, unaware of the hurricane force winds forming in another part of the house. Her 35-year-old mother, Leslie, was in the dining room talking to Dottie. Leslie was 3 years younger than Dottie, but they could pass for twins. Milky skin, silky black hair served as their crowns. Eyes that appeared copper in the fall and hazel in the summer was a family trademark. They were proud Creole women, descendants of the Seventh Ward of New Orleans, the primary area in the city where free slaves who were light-skinned enough to be called quadroon settled post-slavery times. The sisters met every Sunday to discuss the events of the previous 6 days. Laughter and jokes were often the byproducts of their gossip sessions, but today's powwow seemed weightier. They spoke in hushed tones, swapped worried gazes, and held hands. Leslie ordered Tammy to go to her bedroom shortly after Dottie arrived, but the directive wasn't needed. Tammy was preparing to go on her own. She knew when grown folk needed privacy to have grown folk conversation. I can't believe he did this after all the shit I've done for him. The declaration was accompanied by a smack on the table that made the cutlery clatter. Tammy's body stiffened. She tossed the diary aside and eased off the bed until the tips of her toes kissed the cold hardwood floor. Weekends at her home were often filled with alcohol-induced utterances that she'd learned to ignore, but this outburst was different. It was delivered in a higher octave and slathered in pain. Tammy pressed her ear to the door and listened for signs that a further inspection might be warranted. He's a man, Leslie, Dottie said. Men make mistakes. Dottie was measured in every sense of the word, the proverbial calm before the storm. Leslie, who was as petite as a ballerina, was the storm. When lightning flashed in her eyes and thunder rumbled in her belly, she could be meaner than Medusa with menstrual cramps. I don't want to hear that shit, Leslie replied. He's always making mistakes. The retort was all the proof Tammy needed. Something wicked was on the horizon, but if she was going to glean more details, she'd need to get closer to them. Eavesdropping wasn't a bad thing in Tammy's world. In fact, listening to adults curse, gossip, tell dirty jokes, and argue was sort of a pastime. She'd often take some of the sayings she heard and repeat them to her friends so they could marvel at her maturity. Was it a bad habit? Not from Tammy's perspective. If her parents didn't want her to listen to them talk, they would have given her a sibling to play with. This mission was not unlike the clandestine work Tammy did on some Friday nights when her parents hosted spade and tonk parties. While cigarette smoke filled the house, cheap liquor was guzzled, and Luther Vandross sang about a bad boy having a party, Tammy would stealthily make her way to the kitchen to commandeer enough finger food and soda to last her until she fell asleep. An easy task because the terrain and challenges were predictable. 4 guests would be off to the left, sitting at a folding table designed for spades. They were always too busy studying cards and shouting the number of books they had to notice her. Laughter, cursing, and lighthearted teasing were commonplace for the couple-on-couple face-off at that table. The oval dining table, which could accommodate 6 and was positioned at the mouth of the hallway that stretched from Tammy's bedroom, was where the real action went down. Tonk was the game played at that table, and $5 was needed to sit down. From her bedroom, Tammy could often see mounds of money in the center of the tonk table while the dealer flung cards and called out the number in suit. Getting past that table was often easy because the shouting muffled her footsteps, and smoke that hovered over the room like fog over the Frisco Bay cloaked her movement. Tammy was prepared to employ the tactics she used during her Friday recon missions, but there was one variable she had to consider this time out. This was a Sunday, not a Friday. There were no boisterous guests to drown out the sound of her movement and no tobacco cloud to hide behind. The bedroom door opened just enough for Tammy to see Dottie sitting at the table. Her beautiful aunt's hair swayed like a horse's tail every time she moved. If Auntie Dottie looks back, she's going to see me, Tammy thought. The possibility of being spotted only added to the excitement. The bedroom door hinges were in desperate need of a greasing, so Tammy was mindful of how wide she should open it. She only needed enough space to allow her 50-pound frame to squeeze through. Anything wider than that 12 inches and the door would snitch. That first hurdle was almost cleared, but Tammy's elbow clipped the edge of the strike plate on the door lock. Her face scrunched like she bit into a lemon. The braces on her teeth flashed like a rapper's grill. It took every bit of restraint she could muster to stifle a curse-filled outburst. A vigorous rub did little to stop her elbow from smarting, but Tammy managed to assuage the throbbing enough to press on. With her back against the wall, away from the sightline of her bedroom door, she moved down the dark corridor until the odds of Dottie's noticing her increased. The nervous girl crouched in the shadows. She wrapped her arms around her knees and tucked them against her chest while she listened to the grown folk conversation. Come on, sis, don't make this more than it is, Dottie pleaded. Put the gun away. Dottie, just because I don't tell you every time he fucks up, don't mean he ain't been fucking up. Last year, I found a phone number in his pocket. 6 months ago, I found lipstick on his collar. I'm the one who's been working 2 jobs for the last 3 years, supporting his broke ass. I've got bill collectors chasing me because of credit cards charges he made. And that ain't the worst of it. I never told you what happened last year. What happened? He gave me herpes. What? You heard me. He slept with some tramp and brought home some shit that can't be cured. I don't deserve this. I should shoot him and that bitch he's been sleeping with. Baby, I get it. You're angry. You damn right. Leslie smacked the table again. I have a right to be angry. I'm not saying you don't, Leslie. I'm just saying you need to think this through. Leaving him may feel good for the moment, but you're not the only person in this equation. You've got to think about how this decision is going to affect Tammy. You know that girl worships the ground Mo walks on. You just up and leave and she's going to be devastated. Who said I was leaving? I ain't going nowhere. Mo going to get his cheating ass out of here. He can go stay with that bartending heifer he's screwing. Leslie paused to puff her cigarette. Trust me, by tomorrow morning, all this shit will be in the front yard and the lock's going to be changed on the door by noon. I'm going to call Dickie, the handyman up the street, and get him to come change all of them. Hell, all it'll take is a wink and a smile to get him to come do it. That man's been eye fucking me for years. the way I'm feeling right now, I might just give him some for his troubles. Tammy suspected they were discussing her father, Moses, AKA Pretty Mo, but wasn't sure. Now it was confirmed. She still couldn't see her mother's face, but saw a plume of cigarette smoke come from the direction of her voice. Leslie only grabbed the cigarette when she was upset. If the amount of smoke floating over the table was a gauge of her anger, Mo stood a better chance of surviving a shark attack than his wife's wrath. Of all the women in the world to fuck around with, he chose that picky-head monkey. Why her? What does she have over me? Do you know how many men would give their left arms to be with women who look like us, Daddy? Women who can give them pretty babies and make them look good in public. That bitch looks like she came straight out of a Tarzan movie. That's who he chose to cheat on me with. He ain't even smart enough to fuck around with somebody who looks better than me. Cheating ain't always about looks, Leslie. There's something broken in your marriage. The only thing that's broke is that nigga's wallet. It don't open ever. I'm gonna stop right there. So what ends up happening is, I don't want to read any more. I've read enough, but this conversation leads to an incident that happens further in this chapter. And that incident serves as the foundation for this young lady, Tammy, when she becomes an adult. Chapter 2 starts when she's an adult. She's in her 40s now. And that same lesson that she learned from her mother during that exchange, when her mother realized that she was hiding in the hallway, lays the foundation for how she views dark-skinned men and colorism. So the book is called Paperback. The book can be found on Amazon in paperback and ebook. And you can get it from my website, www.authorbrianwsmith.com.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Michelle.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Like I said, I read the book. I just finished it a couple of days ago. It was great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the book is look, we all have heard about colorism, but I have been surprised. I grew up, look, that's in the interest of full disclosure, we all family here, right? Y'all ain't gonna go telling my business. Y'all ain't gonna do
La 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 la. Oh, I'm just
but in the interest of full disclosure, that incident with the dark-skinned boy and the mama, that was me. Right. So I'm 50 years old. I grew up in the 80s in New Orleans. I was in high school in the 80s. And even as recently as 1987, 85, 86, up in there somewhere, I had the brown paper bag test done to me. So it's real. And what ended up happening is it's in this book, I go into how it started, the origins of it, where it started, the part of the city where it starts at. And this book, you get a lesson, you get a history lesson, you get a story wrapped in a history lesson. And you know, this issue, it's spread throughout our culture. So you started seeing it in our sororities and our fraternities throughout the country. But the thing that blew me away after writing this book is that being from New Orleans, the assumption is that people are familiar with this. I have been pleasantly surprised at how many people who live above the Mason-Dixon line and were raised above the Mason-Dixon line who never heard of the brown paper bag test. That just blew me away. So it made me happy that I wrote the book even more so, you know?
Indeed, indeed. Michelle, you've got about 11 minutes for you to get in a little something about yourself. If you wanted to read something a little bit, or you want to chat a little bit, let Tribe take you on. It's up to you.
Okay. I can read a little bit. I read a little excerpt from Not That Nice.
Ooh.
Yes. Okay. First of all, about me, I'm representing South Carolina, so I'm from the South. I know about the paper bag test. So I can relate in a lot of ways to that book. Okay, but anyway, for Not That Nice, okay. It's about a woman who had a tragic event when she was a child, and she learned a lesson that she should always take care of herself first. And then she meets a guy who she feels like will always take care of her. Okay, so they met in the emergency room where she worked. The cop with the chiseled features and sexy smile had a habit of trying to coax a reaction from her. She never obliged. Kelsey had convinced herself that she didn't need a distraction. What happened next was a blur. Kelsey tended to a gunshot wound patient. There was a loud bang in the admitting area. The doctor next to her turned toward the hall and screamed. All she could recall was the shape of a gun the teenager pointed at her. Kelsey came to on a cot. For a blissful 2 seconds, she didn't know where she was. Her memory returned in waves. The controlled chaos of the emergency room, the smell of sulfur from the gunshot. And then a baritone voice said, I knew I would get you in bed, but I didn't envision it happening this way. Her eyes snapped open. Officer Williams' dark hooded eyes lasered into her own. Up close, she noticed a scar under his clean-shaven chin and his scent, a heady blend of musk cologne. What happened? Kelsey croaked and swallowed. She tried to sit up, but couldn't navigate the mechanics of her body. He extended his hand. Some punk tried to finish off your patient. My partner had to put him down. Kelsey turned and winced from a jab in her side. You may feel that for a while, he said. I had to tackle you. I didn't even get dinner first. Kelsey blinked in horror. Was she really flirting with the man right now? I mean, I owe you a thank you. I'm Alex, by the way. How about we get a coffee? He tucked a stray curl behind her ear. As you can see, I'm a nice guy. You have to say yes this time. His touch fought for space in the jumble of thoughts clouding her mind. Kelsey sighed. Maybe she should give Mr. Nice Guy a chance. And she did. Officer Alex was her real-life hero. Someone had finally arrived on time. Kelsey thought she would never have a reason to be afraid again. She was wrong. So that's like the beginning of Not That Nice.
Now, how did that story come about?
This came about, the tribe was doing our anthology, and I just came up with an idea of a woman who really it started as a mystery of what would happen if a woman, tried to kill her husband, basically. That's really how it started. But it started as a short story in the anthology that the tribe did.
I
and
think
it grew
this
from
is
there.
the one book. It had a different twist originally.
It did have a different twist, but my editor helped me see a different ending than the original one that I had,
I think
which made it better.
It did, but to me, I like the original too. And I had said that you probably should have kept the way it was original. It was a double twist and it was awesome. It just did not fit the formula for what we were going for the anthology, but it was powerful. But I didn't want it to have that stereotype, but it was like, I was like, dang, it was very short, compact. It was an awesome story, very tight writing. So I was like, man, this woman is on to something. So what's your next book that's coming out?
My next book that's coming out is Settling Up. It's about a woman who has an affair and then it's the fallout from that. So that'll be coming out probably next year at this point.
Okay,
Yeah. So
yeah. What has been your writing process that you've been
when the pandemic hit, I know everybody has been dealing with the same thing, but when the pandemic hit, I didn't realize how much anxiety it caused me, and I really didn't write as much. So I've gotten back into it. The story is almost complete, but I wanted to make sure, I want to make sure that is better than what I've written before. So I think I kind of overanalyze stuff. So I know Brian is a writing professor. So what do you what advice do you give your students like me? So I've been struggling with this story for months.
Good one.
How do you finish?
I think what you're talking about is what they call writer's block to some degree, right? Would that qualify? Does that sound? I personally don't believe in writer's block. I'm of the opinion that writer's block is a symptom. It is not the ailment. So oftentimes life's challenges are the ailments. Repo man outside your door, marriage about to break up, just lost my job, COVID, life's issues that distract us and zap us of our creativity. So it's been my experience that the more of that stuff that you can clean up, your issues, the more creativity is allowed to flow. So I don't see writer's block as being an issue. It is the symptom. It is not the ailment. And you fix the ailment, just like, I mean, if we had the flu and you were coughing and you were nauseous, and I said, "What's wrong with you?" I could see all these symptoms. We'd have to diagnose or figure out that what you really have is the flu. The symptoms are a tip off that you're sick, but your ailment is that you have the flu. And I think that's the way I look at writing, that the not being able to write is a symptom. What's your ailment? The ailment is that you ain't paid that car note in 3 months and the repo man is calling you. That's your ailment. Or your son is in and out of jail for the 3rd time in 3 years. That's your ailment. Or your man, you just caught him cheating again last week. That's your ailment. Fix all your issues and your creativity will flow. Or sometimes your biggest ailment is that your fear. And I'm a firm believer also that procrastination is just fear in disguise. So if you can figure out what it is you're scared of, then your creativity will flow and you can get the book out. So that's just the way I see it.
Well, he went for all the dark stuff. Is there any happy stuff that'll keep us from writing?
I mean, look, happy stuff usually inspires you to write.
That is true. That is
I wrote paperback. I was in a good place. Really no life problems. Nothing to really talk about. Life is good. I wrote paperback in 6 weeks, 60,000 words in 6 weeks. You know what? I mean, I didn't have any distractions. So the creativity flows. Conversely, there have been times when it's taken me 6 weeks to write 1 chapter. But when I look at my life, I can also be honest and admit that I had some things going on. So, yeah.
That's it. I'm going to actually put something on the screen because I'm going to share my screen really quickly so they can see one of Michelle's books, Moment of Truth. That's not the one she read from. She read from Not That Nice, but this is where you can find her on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. So those are all places that you can keep up with her. And I just want to make sure we got that on the screen so you all could see that. I'm getting the hang of this whole webinar thing, so if you all haven't done your graphics, she did one, I did the one for Brian. I will put that one back up there so you guys can see his paperback. We did our job. So if you all don't have, the tribe members did the graphics that you're seeing tonight. I've done some, but most of them have taken the time to do that. It's a lot going on. Let's show you Brian so you can see you up here. Let's see this share screen thing. I'm getting the hang of all of these things. So there we go.
Yeah, I know that dude. I know him.
Yeah, trying to look all dapper and whatnot.
No, that was before the pre-COVID. That was the pre-COVID look before the beard. You know, you sit in the house all day, you just let the beard grow.
I know, right? This has been an interesting time. I've got a lot more done, and all those times you wanted to be able to sleep in, get writing done. There's a lot going on. This cavalcade is one, you know, we've got more than 1,000 people registered for this. And I've never had one this large. I've had 600 people, but not on the physical cavalcade, but to virtually be able to see all of this and keep this going. And it's just been a wonderful time. So yeah. So as
well,
much
I want to thank you. I see how you're juggling this, and it's impressive. You're a better person than me. I don't know if I had the patience for it. You know what I'm saying? I've coordinated a couple of sit downs with people just during the quarantine, and it's like trying to herd cats, just 3 or 4 people. So to get this together is impressive, and I want to thank you for having me on.
And thank you for being here. And it's not just me, tribe. I have a tribe. The people you see on the screen, these are tribe members. These are some of the tribe. It's 32 tribe members right now. And they all kind of help pitch in, you know, they take ownership of certain things and we learn things together. And they've been really good. I couldn't do this on my own, but this was a learning curve for me because this is a webinar that has panelists and attendees versus being a large meeting, which is what we signed up for at first. And then as it expanded, a webinar is a different process. So I wasn't even able to upload all the people at once to register them the way we normally would. They had to come back in and get their secure link. So it was a whole lot of glitches about time, all of that. There were people sitting here at 9 o'clock this morning trying to get in.
I can imagine it's a logistical nightmare. Let me just give some shout outs. Royce, thank you for always supporting me, baby. I appreciate you. Michelle, thank you for you know, just sponsoring, I mean, representing me today, being the host, if you will, for my appearance here. Shakir, I see you over there, bro. What's that? I see Pat Georgia Walker. How you doing, baby? And Christine, I see you too. I see Deborah Fletcher. I see a lot of faces that a lot of people we converse with via Facebook, but you never get to meet. And since the world is shut down, we don't get to see each other. So this has been a beautiful thing. I think this is a cool way for people to remain connected. And I want to thank everybody who supported me and you, Lisa, for having me on.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you being here. You can hang around with us. I can pull you out to be an attendee so you can watch, or, you know, and you can use that link to come back in. We sent the schedule out. You can come back in anytime, back and forth. You see somebody you want to come in and peek, you can come on through. And so it's like parking privileges, in and out. No
doubt. I will. I got the hustle don't stop, baby. I got to meet with the book club here in 20 minutes. So.
All right. Well, on that note,
but thank you. I appreciate you.
All right.
Y'all be good. All right.
Deuces. Okay. Our next guest is Mary B. Morrison, but I'm going to turn it over to Shakir because I don't see her in the panel. So what I'm going to do is put a little call in, because I sent everybody their panelist link and I've just resent it as well. So Shakir, I'm going to let you take it away to talk about yourself, your books, and if you want, you know, Tribe to chat with you as the only one of 2 males that's in the tribe.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah, the tribe can throw questions at you. I can ask everybody to unmute if you want to chat. Yeah. So would you like for me to do that?
Yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem.
Okay, so I'm going to ask everybody to unmute, all the panelists to unmute, and that way they can throw some questions at you. First, you introduce yourself, and I'm going to go out and make this call to see where our beloved Mary is. And everybody do keep her in prayers. I don't know, you saw it on Facebook that she was diagnosed. So I'm not sure if it's
yeah, I wasn't sure whether or not. I thought she was supposed to be in at 8:30. That's what I mean, not 8:30 my time. I gotta double check the schedule to be sure.
That's where I'm at right now, because we're supposed to be me and Deborah.
Right, exactly.
You know what? I'm looking at the iPad is hiding the people. So I'm gonna bring you in, Bridgett, to do Deborah. I am so sorry. And Deborah is here. I saw her.
Yeah, she's there. I see her.
Okay, so I apologize. Okay, I apologize. It's Deborah's time and it's Bridgett's time. So Bridgett, I'm gonna let you take it away.
Okay, thank you so much. Hey, good evening, book lovers. My name is Bridgett Renay, and I am just so grateful to be here. I am lucky to be a part of this tribe because they stay in motion. So I am loving it, and I'm loving this opportunity to be here tonight. And I first just wanted to just give you a little background about myself. I am the author of the book Corporate Thugs, and also LLP, Lust, Lies, and Propositions. But just a little bit of background about Corporate Thugs. I was working on my my MBA, and so learning about business and corporations, I'm like, wow, they're no different. Corporate people are no different than street people. They call a lot of people street thugs, but there are corporate thugs as well. So you're gonna, run into like a lot of corporate thugs who get away with a lot of things because they don't do it like street people do. So I just, wrote my book based on that. And it was really easy for me because I was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, and my mama did not raise me right. And as a result, I mean, I got a lot of thug in me. It's just, it's just natural, but it's about how you channel, that thugness is what matters. So I channeled it in the right direction. And when I first published, I did it through a, I don't know, I guess what they call like maybe a vanity, publishing house or whatever. I thought it was like a big deal that they wanted me. But what happened was within 1 year, they sold 6 copies of my book. And no, you heard me right, I did not stutter. 6 copies, but I was selling, like sort of old school out the trunk, like, so I was selling the physical copies of my book, but they weren't doing anything for me. And so I decided that I was going to self-publish. And what happened was I learned everything I needed to learn about self-publishing. And I had to ask myself, well, what do I need them for? So I took matters into my own hands. And when I, sent my baby out there into cyberspace, I sold like over 4,000 copies within 72 hours. So I was just very proud of myself. And I knew from that point on that, that's what I was going to do from now on, do the self-publishing thing, because it is, a lot of people out there who are right there as in the audience. A lot of people want to be authors, and you're thinking, oh, I can't do this, who's going to want to read it or whatever. It can be done. So I just wanted to share that story with you to give you words of encouragement, because I actually refocused on, my writing, because I learned that I am a better teacher than I am an entertainer. So I write books about business, business manuals and things of that nature. And I focus on time management and leadership. So with that being said, enough about me. Let me go ahead and introduce to you Deborah Fletcher Mello. Give you a little bit of background about her. Her first novel, Take Me to Heart, it earned her a 2014 Romance Slam Jam nomination for Best New Author. In 2008, she won the Romantic Times Reviewer's Choice Award for Best Series Romance for her 9th novel, Taming Wild Stallion. Her publication, Craving Temptation, was named one of the Publishers Weekly Best Books for 2014 and was also nominated for a 2015 Emma Award for Book of the Year. And her novel, Plan for Keeps, was a Literary Journal Best of 2015 and won the Romantic Times Reviewer's Choice Award for the Best Multicultural Romance. And as recently as 2016, she was named the Slam Jam Author of the Year. So book lovers, please welcome Deborah Fletcher Mello. Hey,
Hello.
Deborah, are you out there?
I am. How are you?
I am wonderful. Doing
It's
wonderful.
great
Good
to
see
put
you.
a face to a voice.
Yeah, we spoke the other evening. It was so great talking to you. It was like, talking to an old friend. It really was.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. I felt the same.
Yeah, and isn't that the thing about when you're in the community of authors? It's like it doesn't matter, you meet them for the first time, and it feels like family, like we're a team, especially
We
Black
are
authors
family.
trying to accomplish,
We
the
are
same
family.
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you have been publishing books since 2003. So before we get into your writing, I want to first talk a little bit about the changes that you've seen in the publishing industry over the years, and with you getting with Harlequin. Can you give us some background about that?
I think one of the biggest changes we have seen in the literary landscape with publishing since I started is the evolution of self-publishing. When I started, self-publishing was a dirty little secret that no one was supposed to do. It lacked credibility as far as the industry was concerned, and it was not an easy process. I think they made it challenging for a reason, because they didn't want authors out here putting out their own work. And we've seen that evolve and develop over the years. And we've seen some incredible stories come from some amazing authors. And it's been an exciting journey to see.
Oh,
I
that's
myself am a hybrid author, so I have my publishing contract with Harlequin, have written for Kensington Books, but also felt a need to step out of that box and self-publish my own works, to tell stories that the publishing industry didn't necessarily want me to tell.
okay. Thank you. And I am reading your current novel, which is Colton 911, Agent by Her Side. And what I absolutely love about just reading it, because my favorite is Maya Angelou, not because she's Maya Angelou, just because of all of her life experiences. So that's one of the main reasons why I love her. But what I love about her writing is that she makes every single word count. It's like there is no wasted words. And that's what I get,
Wow.
from your writing. I'm like, wow, there are no wasted words here. Every word matters.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's important, we're telling a story. So it has to have value and volume and be something that energizes people and have teachable moments and, just entertain. And so that's what I strive to do. Tell a great story.
Also, well, do you have any like training with writing, like in college, or did it just become something that you craved and you just knew that you can do without, so much of the training?
I knew that I always wanted to write as a child, but didn't know any writers, didn't know that I could be a writer. And I used to jot poetry in the margins of my science journal in middle school. And one day the science teacher came to me, and I was failing her class because I am horrible at science. But she came to me and she said, if you continue to write, I will give you a passing grade in my class. And she did. And in that moment, she validated what I wanted to do, what I saw my life journey being. But of course, life got in the way. I married young, I raised 6 kids, and the thought of writing a story or a book just, it seemed challenging. And but one day I just said, this is what I want to do. So I sat down and I did it. And I've been doing it ever since.
Wow, since 2003, that is amazing. I can remember what I was doing in 2003 and all the life changes that happens. And it's like, wow, you've been writing that whole time. It's like, I wish I was writing that whole time.
Well, you know what? Whatever happened, I threw it into a book. For me, writing is therapeutic. I can get out some things when I'm writing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Keeping a journal has really worked for me. So I can pull a story out of my behind, because it's like there's just so much drama from the past. And after going through your extensive list of novels, there were 4 of them that really stood out to me that I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
And the first one is Rested Waters. That's from May 2011. Because it's more literary writing than romance novel, and you specialize in romance novels, especially with Harlequin. So how did Rested Waters become?
When I initially started writing, I didn't see myself as a romance writer. I discovered with my first book that if you delete 80 pages of the story and good editing, it can be a romance novel. And that's how my career as a romance author was born. But I had these stories in me that weren't necessarily packaged like romance stories are supposed to be packaged. They weren't in a pretty box with the big bow on top and, necessarily had a happy ending, but they were stories that were so innate, so desperate to come out that I needed to tell them. So Rested Waters was actually my first venture into self-publishing. I had this story. It lived with me for a significant amount of time. I had to tell this little girl's story, and Rested Waters was born.
Okay, thank you for that. And then there is Songbird from May of 2017, because you actually collaborated with two other authors. One of them, Piper, who is actually, she's a guest here as well. I'm not sure what time, she'll be on.
Yes.
But yeah, she is also a guest here. So can you just tell us a little bit about that? What is it like to collaborate, with other authors once you already got your thing going, and then, bringing someone else? How did that come about?
Actually, the Songbird was the brainchild of Iris Bowling. And Iris writes romantic suspense. And she just had this idea of a collaborative effort where we told the story of mothers and daughters, 3 generations, and brought them together. Piper was given the historical story to tell the grandmother's story. I had the contemporary story and told the daughter's story. And Iris came in and did the romantic suspense with the granddaughter's story. And we were given just a few details and hints and, do this and make sure that, the continuity flows with this idea, this idea, this idea, and then write whatever you want to write. And it turned out to be one of the most incredible collaborations that I've ever been able to participate in. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful book with 3 incredible stories.
Okay, what is your story about in the book?
My story is the story of the daughter, and it's just about finding romance. All 3 stories start with the death of the grandmother. So we have to go back and look at the evolution of how the grandmother had an impact on each of the children and how that impact led them to the loves of their lives.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. And third, there is Love Eats from July 2017. And I mean, I've heard of, aphrodisiacs and all of that type of thing. I think my only aphrodisiac is alcohol. So what is
Love Eats was, Love Eats was just one of those projects. I got it in my mindset that I wanted to do just a fun book of short stories and poems and recipes and everything that I just loved, and put it between the pages of a cover and just let it out into the world. And it became Love Eats. And it was just a fun piece, just a lot of fun.
Okay, can you give us some of those recipes? What are some of the things in the book?
More breakfast, the morning after recipe. That breakfast that you that you'll need to feed to your man when after you've had a great night of loving. And there's some tips for sensual massage and just a lot of fun stuff.
Oh, okay, I gotta get into that. All righty, and finally there is Brawn from April of 2018. And of course, the reason why that stood out, reading like a lot of the reviews and everything, people were like, what is up with the cover? It's like the cover, I guess it probably just scared them or something, but it throws people off. So what's really going on with that? What was that about?
Brawn is actually the second book in my One Love series. And my One Love series is a short story series that I decided to self-publish. And it's those romance stories that are so far out of the box of what you normally would see in a romance. And Brawn is the story of a man who is devastated by life in general. He loses everything and is homeless. And in that homelessness, reconnects with a woman that he met when he was at the top of his game. And then it becomes, can they build a relationship when he has no place to put her, no place to take her, and barely a dollar in his pocket?
And it goes from there.
And it turns out to be just an incredible love story.
All right, let's see, what else do we have? Well, what inspires you to write? You know, like this year, it was just such a challenging year. Did you see that as an opportunity to like just take on, you know, all that you can with writing?
I love that when I write, writing takes me to a whole other place. So even in those dark times, I can tell a character's story and gain something from it. I love being able to tell a story. The characters take over, they guide the story. It's not often that when I'm writing a story, you know, I may want them to go left and they will quickly tell me, no, we're going right. And all I do is follow it. I often say I'm just the conduit for a higher power that's telling me what needs to be told.
Awesome, awesome. Well, do you have anything prepared to read? You know, we have a few minutes. Do you want to take a shot at
I'd
that?
love to read.
Awesome.
I'd love to read.
Cool.
Actually, I will read the opening of Rested Waters, since that was one of the books on your list. The young lady on that cover is my godchild, who is now 16 years old.
Oh, okay. And you know, we have probably about like 9 minutes from this for this segment. So, and if you know you go over, Nelena, she's not going to hesitate to cut you off. So we want to, you know, be in.
Not a problem. Cut me off.
All right, Deborah, go for it.
No matter how you slice and butter it, my mama had been a straight up stone cold whore. She was happiest when a stranger's lips were meeting hers for the very first time, alien hands exploring the lush curves of her body. When the lips became too familiar and the hands well known, there was no more pleasure for Lavinia Tucker. Lavinia had tolerated Manroot Tucker the longest, and only because their coupling had produced me, Janae Tucker. And now Manroot was dead. My father died yesterday. He died in his sleep, a resident of the Louisiana State Penitentiary. I was 6 years old the last time I saw Manroot. Back then, I used to call him Daddy. I'd not called him anything since March 11th, 1964, when he had wrapped his thick arms around me, tucked a pale yellow blanket against my small body, and passed me to my grandfather, James Tucker. He kissed me for the last time as he apologized, dark tears running in streams down his coal black face. Diana Ross and her Supremes had been singing Baby Love on the old radio in the kitchen. My hands shook as I read the neatly typed telegram. Its bold black print suddenly revived the many memories that still haunted me. I inhaled sharply the bitter remembrances of my father and my mother, and a road we traveled together only briefly, pulling me back toward a numbness I'd struggled for so long to overcome and forget. Outside, the bearer of bad news pulled his dark panel truck out of the driveway and onto the main road, the bright white printing on the vehicle side fading in the distance. I looked anxiously toward the fields for my husband, Everett, knowing that he'd not be easily found, but hopeful nonetheless. On the mantel above the fireplace, a photo of my parents seemed to loom to the forefront, grappling for my attention. Their smiles were genuine, joy shining in his eyes, satisfaction in hers. Mommy and Daddy, Manroot and Lavinia, her and him, them. Now Manroot was dead, and I had no choice but to remember. My mother, Lavinia Pappas Tucker, had been the type of woman men only loved between the hours of midnight and dawn. Once the sun rose and the daylight blessed the green grass, no man truly loved Lavinia, and Lavinia surely hadn't ever loved any one man. Manroot had been the only fool to think that he could sugarcoat Lavinia's heart with any honest emotion. It would have been enough for most women to have a man like Manroot loving them, but it had never been enough for my mama. Not even I had been enough for Lavinia. Lavinia had been miserable with her everyday existence. Most words out of her mouth had always been bitter ramblings spattered with stinging curses. Lavinia's spirit had been scarred, the wound deeper than the deep pink cut that ran down the right side of her face. Lavinia had died laughing. She'd looked at me with those deep sapphire blue eyes, one tear rolling down her cheek, and she'd been laughing at my daddy. I could remember vividly how she sat on the edge of that big brass bed, stretching a pair of ebony nylons up her thin porcelain legs. She grinned with a sugary smile at me, tossed her sable hair from side to side, and had whispered secret girl things in my direction. Laughter tugged at her thin, cotton candy-colored lips. Tears sprang to the edges of my eyes, dampness clouding my view, but I blinked them back. I did not care to cry, not yet. The tears would flow soon enough. There would be no stopping them. Once the hurt of my past became too much to bear, the tears would erupt in a volcanic explosion, and then I would have to fight to stop them. As though sniffing roses in the flower garden, I inhaled the dark reflections that could wake me from my sleep and walk in silence beside me when I least expected them. They came storming into the room on the sheet of paper that carried the news of my father's death. They would not be ignored, not this day. This day was theirs, and they'd come demanding my full attention, seeping deep into every crevice and crack on my body. The day I was born, Lavinia nicknamed me Black Beauty. She called me her half and half China doll, an intricate blend of her European ancestry and Manroot's blue-black pedigree. Mostly, I was just a half white, mocha-colored black girl with straight hair, turquoise eyes, a crazy black father, and an even crazier white mother. My saving grace was a grandfather who at least had an ounce of sanity. Now, I loved Manroot like every 6-year-old loves a daddy who calls her beauty in the mornings when he lifts her to his broad shoulders to reach for the new day's sun. He always smelled the mild tobacco and foamy aftershave, his shiny, bald head shimmering in the sunlight. His pockets were always filled with sweet surprises, and his arms were never unwilling to wrap my small body in warm hugs or stroke the hurt out of my heart. I had surely loved my daddy. I placed the telegram back into its envelope, heaving a heavy sigh. Tucking the ivory mailer into the back pocket of my too tight, bright white cut-off shorts, I headed out the door toward the gardens where my grandfather, Daddy James, worked diligently, fussing over a new crop of tomato plants. Kneeling on the ground beside him, I placed my hand over his own soil-stained paw, rubbing my other palm against his back. "What's the matter with you?" he asked, kissing my cheek gently. "Telegram came from Angola." The old man nodded. "What Manroot want now?" I squeezed his hand, pausing briefly. "Don't waste my time, Black," he said firmly, calling me by my nickname. "I've got too much work to get done. What does that daddy of yours want from us now?" I took a deep breath before responding. "A decent burial. He died yesterday." Daddy James inhaled sharply, nodding his gray head slowly. "Long time coming. Manroot done been to them crossroads more time than I can count. He kept on coming back." He sighed heavily, sitting his large body down onto the mound of rich red soil behind him. "Did he suffer?" "Message says he passed in his sleep." He sighed again, continuing to bob his curly head up and down. "Bring my boy home," he said finally, smearing dirt from his hand to his cheek. "We'll bury him here. Bury him right next to Titus, Chauncey, and Eloise." Yes, sir, I said, rising to my feet. I'll take care of everything. You take care of it, he repeated, chewing me away with a quick flip of his wrist. You do that. You take care of it.
Awesome,
Right
awesome.
there.
Can you hold that book up again? Because in the chat, everyone agrees that that was an amazing opening. That was one heck of an opening. And I think people are on their way running to Amazon right now to get a copy.
I hope so. I hope so. This story is near and dear to my heart. One of my absolute favorites.
All right, Deborah, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining us on
Oh,
this. And we
thank you so much for having me. Lisa, I love you, darling. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for including me. Mwah.
Mwah. Would you like to hang around as an attendee? You can use that link to come in and out anytime you want to. So I can take you off screen and you can just sit in the background and come as an attendee. You can leave whenever you'd like or stay as long as you like. But that link is good for all 4 days.
Wonderful. I appreciate it. And I'll be in and out. Right now, I've got a 6-year-old that's climbing the walls.
Okay. Thank you so very much. Love you.
Oh, thank you, Bridgett. I appreciate you, darling. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye now. I am going to turn this over to Shakir because the main woman, this is my friend from way back when. She has been my biggest cheerleader, and I'm going to stop right there because I'll start introducing, and it's actually Shakir's point to introduce. So I'm not going to take over his job. So Shakir.